to hide her extraordinary beauty. The girl went so far as to cover her delicate face with freckles every day using dye. Even disguised as an unattractive girl, she was still targeted by bandits in the chaotic times. Eventually, they kidnapped her and sold her into the palace as a servant. But because of her plain looks, the frail Mao Mao could only do the hardest and most exhausting chores in the laundry room. Yet at just 17 years old, she remained remarkably calm. She knew all too well that the palace was filled with hidden dangers, so she deliberately concealed her literacy and medical skills, wanting nothing more than to live quietly and keep a low profile. 3 months passed in a blur. One day, rumors suddenly spread throughout the palace. It was said that the emperor's children had been cursed, all because his 3 previous children had died young, and now the newborn princess and prince were both suffering from the same illness, their lives hanging by a thread. Xiaolan vividly described the horrifying symptoms, but as a pharmacist, Mao Mao remained unconcerned. She suspected that someone might have deliberately poisoned them, but when she realized that the little princess posed no real threat in the harem, she immediately dismissed the thought. She decided to secretly investigate the residences of the higher-ranking consorts, but just as she stepped into the palace quarters of the higher-ranking consorts, she was drawn by the sound of sharp slaps. Consort Liwa was loudly scolding Consort Yuya, accusing her of cursing the young prince. Consort Yuya calmly insisted that it was nonsense. After all, her own daughter was suffering from the same illness, but the anxious Consort Liwa wouldn't listen at all. The imperial physician caught in the middle was terrified, completely helpless in the face of the illness. Meanwhile, Mao Mao suddenly remembered something. Looking at Consort Liwa's pale, haggard face, and recalling the symptoms Xiaolan had described at noon, she became increasingly certain of her diagnosis. But how could she reveal the cause without anyone noticing? She quietly tied a note to an azalea branch and placed it on the consort's windowsill. However, one of Consort Lihua's maids mistakenly thought it was a gift from a secret admirer, and arrogantly threw it away. A month later, on a stormy night, a heart-wrenching cry suddenly echoed through the harem. The young prince had died, but to everyone's astonishment, Consort Yuya's little princess had regained her health. Lord Ren, in charge of managing the harem, hurried to investigate, only to find out that it had been thanks to guidance from a skilled individual. Consort Yuya repeated the instructions from the note over and over. She could never have imagined that the whitening powder used by a woman to enhance her beauty was actually the culprit. She felt deeply ashamed of her ignorance, and begged Lord Ren to find this mysterious expert so she could personally thank her. Lord Ren didn't know where to start, until he suddenly remembered a maid he had brushed past a month ago. He suddenly realized that things were about to get interesting. The very next day, he summoned all the palace maids from the laundry room. Mao Mao sensed something was off, a twinge of unease in her gut, but the other maids were over the moon, finally getting a close look at the man they had all secretly admired. It was only then that Mao Mao realized this was the handsome eunuch Xiaolan had often mentioned. Suddenly, the eunuch wrote something on a piece of paper. "The freckled girl over there, stay behind." Mao Mao flinched without meaning to, and the eunuch's sharp eyes caught her every move. She didn't understand what she had done wrong. Could it have been because of the clue she left last time? By the time she looked up again, the eunuch had already dismissed the crowd. She was the only one left standing. It was then that Mao Mao realized she had walked right into a trap. Most of the laundry maids couldn't read. If she had pretended not to recognize the writing and walked away, Lord Ren would never have been so sure that she was the skilled individual he was looking for.
黙ってついてこい。
Mao Mao was not happy about it, but as a lowly maid, she had no choice but to obediently follow Lord Ren. Still, she refused to show it. She knew that pretending to be ignorant was the only way to survive in the palace. However, when he led her into Yuye Palace and saw that the little princess was safe and sound, couldn't help but show a brief, relieved smile. Consort Yuye immediately bowed deeply in gratitude, but Mao Mao hurriedly claimed he had the wrong person. Then Lord Ren suddenly produced a strip of cloth. He explained that the note had been written on fabric from the laundry maids' uniforms, which was why he had deliberately gathered the maids from the laundry room. From the moment Mao Mao had entered the room, Lord Ren's guards had noticed the tailored cut on her skirt. Seeing that the truth was exposed, Mao Mao had no choice but to confess. She revealed that she had once been a pharmacist on the flower street. She had seen countless women there use the expensive whitening powder, only to fall ill and, in many cases, die from poisoning.
それで、私は何をすればよろしいのでしょうか?
Mao Mao had a premonition that they hadn't called her here just to say thank you. Sure enough, Consort Yuya promptly appointed Mao Mao as her personal maid. Mao Mao was stunned. She never could have imagined that after just 4 months in the palace, she would be promoted to serve the emperor's most favored consort. But what excited her even more was that her role wouldn't be that of an ordinary maid. She would serve as Consort Yuya's dedicated poison tester.
これ、毒です。